Welcome to Inside Sim Racing. I'm Sean Cole, and I have to say, we have tested a lot of rigs here on the show, and today we have another one. That's the GT chassis by Human Racing. Now, the GT chassis goes for about 950 pounds, which is about $1,500 US plus shipping. For that amount of money, you get the chassis itself, and that includes a shifter mount as well. The rig was personally delivered to us by Phil Williams of Human Racing, and it comes very well packaged. The GT chassis comes with its own toolkit and instructions, making assembly very easy. Tommy had the privilege of putting it together, and this is how simple it was. Now, when looking over the GT chassis, there are a few features that are immediately noticeable. The first being the plastic polycarbonate type black finish. It is a formula-style seating position with the pedals at an angle swept back towards you. The GT chassis is a dual-post design with no obstruction between the legs. The wheel deck is made of high-quality aluminum with adjustments front to back, up and down, as well as the angle of the deck. The wheel deck is pre-drilled for the Logitech G25 or G27, as well as the Fanatic mounting holes. The seat itself looks like it's right out of a race car, with a fabric finish and embroidered Human Racing logo. The seat is mounted to some very high-tech looking fabricated aluminum with adjustable seat rails built in. The included shifter mount is made for a Logitech shifter only and is made of the same aluminum as the rest of the metal parts of the rig. It is also adjustable within a certain limited range and can be mounted left or right side. The pedal area is completely molded around the Logitech G25 or G27 pedals and includes mounting holes for sturdy installation. The GT chassis is also light and has a small footprint, seeming to take up less room than many other rigs. It also has wheels, making moving it around rather easy. When we come back, we'll go over the pros and cons and put the GT chassis on the rev scale.
Tamiya's extensive lineup of radio-controlled vehicles provides hobbyists with the joy of running exact replicas of their favorite car, tank, or off-road vehicle. Another attraction of these vehicles is their use of high-grade materials such as nylon resin, carbon fiber, and polycarbonate. With precise mechanical systems, the maintenance and adjustment of the various components as well as performance upgrading with optional parts allows for truly competitive racing. For more information about Tamiya, visit us at www.tamiyausa.com.
Welcome back to the show, and as you can see, the GT chassis is a very nice rig. So it's time to move on to the pros and cons, and let's start off with the cons. And the first one is very obvious, and that's the cost. The rig is basically $1,500 plus shipping, and that makes it by far the most expensive rig that we have tested. The next thing is the rig is 95% made for a Logitech G25 or G27. It will accommodate the Fanatic wheels, but the Club Sport pedals would be a challenge. I've heard they have a pedal plate for the Club Sport wheels, but we haven't been able to test that yet. The rig will hold the T500 if you drill for it, but the pedals really would be tough to make work on the rig. The rig is also very low to the ground. Some people will find getting down into the GT chassis a little bit of a challenge. Also, you will need to mount your monitors fairly low to get the best viewing angle. Unfortunately, the GT chassis comes with no other accessories at this time, included or at a fee. It would be nice to see a keyboard or mouse tray, as well as a monitor mounting solution. Next up is the lack of wire routing. You will need some sort of tape or straps to keep the wires clean. And the last con is very small, and that is the little rubber feet will come off if dragged over something. Not really a big deal. So now let's move on to some of the better aspects of the GT chassis, the pros. And the first one is the beautiful design. At times, the GT chassis looks more like a piece of automotive art than it does a sim rig. It has beautiful curves, arches, and styling that obviously was a labor of love. The next is the sturdiness of the rig. I mentioned it was made of some sort of plastic, but this is more like some sort of NASA plastic, making it one of the stiffest rigs that we have ever tested. There's very little side-to-side or up-and-down movement under normal circumstances. The GT chassis is also very adjustable. All of us here were able to get the Logitech or Fanatec wheels exactly where we wanted them. It was also pre-drilled for both of those wheels. It also had the adjustment to accommodate myself at 5'5", as well as Darren at 6'5", with room to spare. Another pro are the seat rails that come on the GT chassis. This seat moves easier than any rig, or car for that matter, that I have ever owned, and it feels like it will last as long as the rig. The next pro is the seat and seating position. I found the GT chassis to be the most comfortable rig that we have tested, and it is definitely made for hours upon hours of use. I was also very impressed with the overall finish of the GT chassis. The main rig has a very nice black finish, and the aluminum parts are very beefy with a great finish as well. The seat rails look like they are laser or water cut with an edge that machinists would love. The next pro really only exists for the Logitech G series drivers. When mounting the wheel to the rig, it seems integral, where at times you can't tell where the rig ends and the wheel begins. The pedals are even more integrated into the rig. This includes a shifter mount, and being able to mount it on the left or right side is an added bonus. So as you can see, there is a lot to consider when looking at the GT chassis. And when putting on the rev scale, I have to tell you, right out of the gates, I wanted to give it a 10 out of 10. But then when I consider things like the cost, by far the most expensive rig that we have tested, or not being able to use a T500, when I consider the difficulty in getting club sport pedals or how it would change the aesthetics, it took us all the way down to a 7. But then, when you think about it being so comfortable, so sturdy, I mean, all rigs should look at how sturdy the wheel deck of this chassis is, and that means that we're going to give it an 8 out of 10. And I have to tell you, for me personally, I've always defended the home-built rig, the one where you put all of your labor of love into it, get everything where you want it, and those make the best rig. But I'm telling you, at this point, I think it might be time to step up to the more refined type of sim rig, where I'm that comfortable, and it just looks so beautiful. So that's something I'll be thinking about. If you're interested in the Human Racing GT chassis, you can check them out yourself at www.humanracing.co.th. I'm Sean Cole, and I'll see you on the track.
Promotional consideration provided by iRacing.com, the ultimate place to race online. The world's finest model manufacturer and leader in RC cars, trucks, and tanks. Go to TamiyaUSA.com.